The key to success on the field and in your backyard is a comprehensive game plan. So if you're building a fence or a deck this year, trust a Turkstra coach to design, quote, or order the right materials for your project. Visit a Turkstra Lumber near you to learn more.
From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Welcome back to the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. Ticats coming off a huge win Saturday at Tim Hortons Field. That was against Winnipeg, of course, and now they get ready for another big game to go down the QEW to Toronto this coming Saturday, the 23rd at 7 p.m. Fans, be sure to send your questions in to Coach at gameday@ticats.ca. Put in the subject line a question for Coach O, and maybe we'll pick your question to ask on the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. Wow, Coach, what a game. You've got to just be unbelievably happy and proud of your team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a great win, just for the whole team, obviously the city and the whole organization. You can talk about things turning internally and how you feel, but it does got to show up in the win column. And I thought everybody showed up, including the fans.
Yeah, it was a great energy at the stadium, and it was a beautiful day for football. 2 years in a row, there's a sort of a changing point in the season where you beat a very good Winnipeg team at home. How'd you do that?
Yeah, I think it's real simple, to be honest with you. Winning's not simple, but when you boil it down to the critical stats that we enforce, same thing we've been saying all year, Luke. When you take care of the football and you get the football, meaning you take it away and don't turn it over. When you're effective on special teams, we found Tyreek got into the end zone there in a momentum swing and, almost there before the half. Had a chance to break another one. We took some penalties we wouldn't like too late when we were trying to flip the field there, but I think we scored when we got into the score zone, or what most people would refer to as the red zone. We were able to come away with points, and I think scoring on 5 of 6 possessions in the first half, whether it's field goal or touchdowns, bode well. And then I think something like the last 7 possessions in the second half, it was like punt, interception, punt, interception, punt. Like, this is what we talk about when we say complementary football. And I think that's how we were able to get it done, is I thought we were able to be effective in all 3 phases.
Yeah, it was once again sort of like the big win against Ottawa. In Ottawa, you and I talked about, was sort of a tale of 2 halves. It was a bit of that again against Winnipeg. Here's the third quarter. You guys come out and score a touchdown to start. After that, it goes punt, punt, interception, 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 punt, punt, interception, interception, into the fourth quarter. So the scoring in that first half was all of a sudden the defenses sort of started to come in and change the game a little bit, including yours, of course.
Yeah, I think it's well said, and that's the proof of it. And so when you mention, how did we get it done? I think it's right there when you're able to keep a high-powered offense off the field. And then we're able to effectively move the ball, even if it means gaining field position and possibly momentum. Points are always the goal. And that, so I thought it was, I thought we punted the ball effectively. It wasn't always in what we refer to as the target zone or outside the numbers as much as we'd like, but I thought we covered fairly decent. And yeah, it's fun to reflect on games like that, but we'll have our hands full moving forward. But yeah, just a group effort, proud and happy for everybody.
Yeah, what an interesting example of how the kicking game can swing on a game on the scoreboard. Castillo misses an extra point, which of course is a missed or a lost single point for Winnipeg. Tyreek McAllister takes it back all the way, which makes it a 3-point swing, and then another missed field goal leaves 6 points on the board in a game that, of course, was a 6-point difference. Anything that do you coach that with your team? Is it an example that you talk about? Is it just how the cards fall that game? But certainly a great coaching point on how meaningful it can be to return that, even if it's just for 2 points.
No, I think there's lots of teachable moments in there, and we do point some of those things out. Obviously, the tangible things are the point swing, very easy to ID. With that being said, we really feel like even ourselves, if you don't have your cover team out there, you're really at a disadvantage when you miss. And there's usually about, no offense to the old linemen that like to try hard and get their name in a stat column and in their line, but there's probably about 4 or 5 people, and you, at being a former holder, that between yourself and maybe 4 others, if you didn't make the tackle, it's tough sledding. And I think that's the emphasis, is where I'm going with this, is when they miss, they need to pay. And let's get the people blocked up that can make the plays. And I can specifically remember you saving our bacon a few times, right? And that's just because it was a process of elimination. There was only a few of you that are going to make it. Yeah. And so that's the bigger thing. And we got to find a way to get him in the end zone. Their guy made a fantastic play. There's a teachable moment by watching the Winnipeg guy hustle. He was one of those 5 that were able to make the play, and he came out of nowhere, where you thought maybe we had him blocked up enough to get going. Well, we didn't. Yeah. So there's teachable moments, not just from our team, but in watching other teams. I think those are very teachable moments that we like to not pass up the opportunity to coach off of.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Jeff Reinbold, of course, and also Frank Gans Jr. used to say, like, if we were out there and missed a field goal, like, the alarm has to go off in your head, meaning me, the holder, like, you bet, like, you're the guy who has to make the tackle. And you got other guys, like you said, there's 4 or 5, but everyone's got to think it's either me or it's a touchdown, because you're at a huge disadvantage in a missed field goal situation just out of a personnel lineup. Coach, offensively, again, I'm leaving the game saying Taylor Powell once again took a big leap. Like, it's just every game is his learning curve. It seems like he's just climbed a little bit higher in his learning curve. An entirely different looking quarterback play than we saw. How many weeks ago is it now? 7 or something weeks ago when at his first start. He's entirely a different looking athlete on the field. Few things impressed me. The throws that he made downfield. Obviously, your offense struggled to make big gains in the air early on with Taylor Powell. We're seeing a lot more downfield receptions, and also a couple examples of him keeping his eyes downfield as the pocket breaks down and he's able to extend the play a little bit. What's your take on Taylor Powell right now? Is there still something you see in him that you say, he's still a rookie, let him grow, or are you just as impressed as I am?
No, I'm impressed with him. I'm not surprised, though. I'm not surprised, and that's not because I have some crystal ball. But again, we do have the advantage of watching these people, not necessarily players, and just how they respond to everything. It sounds crazy, but it's, how they respond when something's not going right at home, how they respond when their food's cold, how they respond with their teammates, how do they interact, are they early to meetings, do they do extra work? How do they respond in practice when they throw an interception? How do they respond when there's this one that they are supposed to hit and it doesn't get there? These are the things why I'm not surprised. But the one thing, and I sound like a little bit of a broken record here, but the one thing that I just didn't waver from the beginning is the one thing Taylor didn't have was experience. And I think that's what you're alluding to there. So after 7 weeks or however many weeks it's been, he's gaining that experience, and I think we're gaining the fruit from it. I think Scott's doing a great job of giving him something that's palatable, something that he can handle, while at the same time putting together something we can win with. And there are games when the D is going to have to give us more opportunities, And so I think the game's slowing down a little bit for him. He's seeing more of what he's been used to his whole life, and that would be 11-man football versus, that 12th person can wreak havoc, and a lot more than people think. And I think from the hardest position on the field, being quarterback, everybody's timetable is a little bit different. And you would know that from coming up here. All of a sudden, you're not widening off the mic. You're widening off. Your newest flat defender might be the Sam or the nickel. And there's adjustment. And for you were a quick study, but for the next person, they may not be. And so it's different for everybody, but he'll be the first to tell you he's got a long way to go. But he doesn't waver from that. He doesn't try to skip steps. He's okay with the process.
It's fun to watch for sure. You mentioned Scott and Taylor and their development together. clearly there were some different things offensively this game. So what jumped out to me is all the 3 receiver sets that you guys took the field with. Bigger bodies in the box, and sometimes it was Tim White, Godwin, and Bayless, I think it was, and just the 3 of them out there, which is not sort of the normal Ticat set that we've been seeing. Can you tell us a little bit about that and maybe why Winnipeg was suited for that and why that change came about at this point?
Well, sometimes it's what you see on tape, and it's not that you know that it's going to work. It's something that you want to see how they respond. And, sometimes you get numbers in the box. Sometimes you're going to get one-on-one matchups outside. And so I think it's all about information gathering. And then, sometimes you anticipate things to work, and it doesn't work quite as well. And then you have to adjust. So, the first thing you want to see in those type of things is, does the other team substitute? Are they going to bring in a bigger body? Okay, if they bring in a bigger body, that means they're short a cover person. And then who is covering out there? Who did they take off the field? So you usually have that information in advance, but that doesn't mean that's the other team's game plan that week. So that's kind of the game within the game. And then anytime you have numbers, whether it's outside the box or inside the box, you're trying to figure out a way to take advantage of it, or just send a message of, we're going to try you on this, and if you're better, you're better, but we might be better. So more than Winnipeg, it's something that it gives us a sample of what we're able to do. Are we able to morph in and out of those things with any type of effectiveness?
Yeah, interesting. So, in a sense, you got 3 receivers instead of your 4 or 5, and you're counting. How do they account for that? If they load up the box the way you loaded up the box, you have an advantage at receiver. If they leave that secondary full, then maybe it's James Butler's time to get some run with some extra blockers in the middle.
Yeah, and even if it's not extra blockers, maybe you've got big on small. Just some basic physics for the big ball, little ball. So, maybe you just got a body type matchup that they may have the same amount of people, but we might like our matchup a little bit better.
Interesting. Is that a natural progression as the season goes along? Is that a Scott Milanovich thing? Are you guys, or do you have other things like this 3 receiver set that you can continue to test out these teams with? Will we see more changes like that?
Yeah, I think, you're always trying to be innovative and creative, but the biggest thing is be effective. And I think a little bit of it is Scott and his creativity and what he likes to see there. And, I think since Scott's taken over, I think Dayton Black's played probably somewhere near 100-plus snaps, which would be probably 2 games. And so there's people getting more opportunity to play, gaining valuable experience versus just waiting for an injury to happen. And there is no right or wrong way to do it. It's just a different way to do it. And it does keep more people involved. I mean, we've been suiting 7 linemen as of late, but not just suiting them for emergency, suiting them to play them.
Wow, cool. Defensively, definitely stole the ball away, definitely limited Zach Collaros and his effectiveness, mainly through those 3 interceptions that you forced from Zach. But just gutsy and resilient at times when Winnipeg was able to get points or have big plays. Your defense, again, very similar to how they did against Ottawa the week before. They have a way of answering back with a big play or a big stop or a big 2-and-out after the opponent has some success there. What's the mentality of this defense? Because to me, it seems like a defense that's ready for the postseason. It's ready for greatness. Is it something that, do you hang your hat on this defense as sort of the mentality of the whole football team?
Yeah, that's kind of the way it's been before, and kind of established over time. But every year is different, Luke. And, I think the defense early in the year, we weren't taking the ball away, and we're giving our offense opportunities or breaking momentum, if you will, throughout the game. And, I thought it's about making timely plays, not just that, but making them consistently. And I feel like we were able to answer the bell, and then there's times when we gave up a touchdown and our offense answered, and now it's a wash. And so I do think that the defense is getting our hands on footballs. We're forcing some fumbles. We're making people throw into tighter windows. Obviously our whole field side was different with Woods and Dexter Lawson out there. And, with the loss of Tunde and Rich, like that's a tall order over there. And I thought, they got us a couple times in man coverage, and early on, but I thought we settled down in the second half, and those guys were sure tacklers and made some very nice plays.
Yeah. The turnovers.
Also, sorry. I mean, obviously the best coverage comes from pressure.
Yes.
And I thought that we did a decent job of collapsing the pocket there. While we may not have sacked them as many times, we were sure around them. And then we kind of have a saying that being close counts. And I thought we were close quite a few times.
Close counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and in quarterback pressures. No. I think it was maybe it was Kenneth George Jr.'s interception. I think when Zach is pressured, and you can tell he's effectively trying to throw the ball away at the feet of his check down, and he totally errantly throws it in a direction where he doesn't realize that Ticats are there, and that was a pressure interception there for sure. And you could tell how frustrated Zach was at the turnovers that they had. 4-2 on the game, the ratio, in your favor, of course. That includes the turnover on downs at the end of the game. So kind of in normal play, maybe 3-2. But that means that the Hamilton Tiger Cats are +1 in the turnover ratio on the season.
Hey, let's go.
Is it a monkey off your back to have the plus sign in your turnover ratio?
It's fun to talk about right now. It's not off the back because you can't get, we were buried down there deep for a while, and it's not going to come back in 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's going to be a collection of weeks. And so it's fun to see, when you start doing things that we relate it to as critical stats, to be able to talk that we're in the plus category. And from being in a room with me, Luke, that we always show the teams that are quote unquote with the best records in the league generally are in the top 5 of that, top 4. Usually, that's just how it works out.
Yeah. It's great to watch. In the Ottawa game, you were close, back to back or next to each other, I should say, in the turnover ratio standings, and you flipped with Ottawa by winning that game turnover ratio. And with Winnipeg, you're climbing closer to them in the top. And I think it was -11 you were at one point this season, if I'm remembering correct. And now you're at +1. So what a change of the storyline as the season's progressed. Anything else you want to say about turnovers? I mean, how have you been able to kind of flip that script as the season goes?
Well, I think sometimes it registers individually, and then sometimes it registers collectively. And I think play calls and all those things aren't going to change it. It's about taking care of the football and and then taking it away. It's that clean. And until we make those decisions, and there's a couple games, I remember talking with you and like, oh man, it was a good game, but we gave up 7 sacks. But all sacks aren't equal. Sacks do kill drives, and there's analytics that say they don't end in touchdowns. But there's also strong analytics that say when you lose that turnover takeaway battle that you don't win anyway. So the goal is to win. And so I think it's just a conscious effort by everybody to attack the football, make your play, be free to do that. And then, let me just say it like this. You know how it is. All we just ask you to do is make your play when it presents itself. Some people have 10 opportunities per game. Some people are going to have 2. Just make yours.
Yeah. That's great. So now you get ready for Toronto. Big game, of course, the rivalry. It's in Toronto now this weekend. Like Winnipeg, like the BC Lions, Toronto is a very good football team. Obviously, have not been able to win this year against Toronto. Does it feel like to you, because it feels a little bit like to me, that Toronto hasn't played this Ticat football team yet? Because of the call it learning curve or the progression and just acceleration of this team towards becoming a better and better football team. To me, it's like game 1 because your Ticats are learning how to win games, and I think there's almost a little hopefulness or a little bit of energy that can come from the idea that Toronto doesn't even know what they're kind of in for with this Ticat team.
Yeah, I think they're mature enough to know that we're better than when we played them before. Obviously, I don't think they've played this team with this mentality and just exactly the lineup that we're playing with. But there's only been one team that's beat Toronto this year, right? So it's not just us that have fallen short. I'm excited for this opportunity. There's a tough we knew this last block of 6 was a tough game. We're going to be tough games. You can only tackle them one at a time. And this is going to be, I don't suspect Toronto will take us lightly. I think they're going to come out and play their brand of ball. And, if we're going to go where we need to be, this is the next game on the schedule. But, it's a nice measuring stick to see, these guys have really dominated the league. Let's just say what it is. And they've won some big games. They're scoring points. They've got a great returner who can score a touchdown and go to the house at any time. They got a quarterback that's, possibly putting up MVP numbers. Their running back is hard to bring down. Their defense doesn't give up explosions. And that's why their record is what it is. So it's up to us to try to find some cracks in there and find a way to come away with at least one more point.
Yeah, very excited for this weekend. And Coach, let's get a fan question in before the end of our episode here. This is a little bit of a change of pace, this question, but interesting no less. This is from Angelo in Hamilton. Great Hamilton name there, by the way. Coach O.
Absolutely.
Yes. Coach O, coaching is known to be a job with long hours. What is a practice day like from morning to night for you and your staff? Thank you, Angelo.
Okay.
Yeah,
Angelo,
run us through it.
Well, I will say this. Yeah, so I'd say it's different. It's been different from all 3 levels for me, meaning as a DB coach, as a coordinator, and then as a head coach. So I would say a typical morning would be, probably a wake up at about 4. You're usually in the office by somewhere between 4:45 and 5. And depending on the day, Angelo, meaning that we kind of have our days like day 1, day 2, day 3. Early in the week, they're going to be a little bit longer, and it's also predicated on how many days there are between games. So I'll give you a sample here with a 7-day work week, meaning if we played like a Saturday and a Saturday, you'd be in somewhere around the neighborhood of 5 a.m., and then you'd probably be home or starting your car around 7. So you're around a 14-hour day, and that'll whittle down to closer to 12 by the time day 3 hits, meaning there's a day 2 that's similar than a day 3. And then day before, we want to be out of here. You do your walkthrough and your media, and I want coaches and everybody out of here. So there's no 9 to 5 in coaching. Ron Lancaster actually used to have a saying to say, if you can't get your job done in 12 hours, we'll probably looking for a different staff member. And I know to just the casual person, it's like, what are you doing the whole time? What are you doing? And I would, that'd be another question, Angelo. But, between scouting reports, watching film, planning practice, figuring out lineups, trust me, 12 hours feels like about 7.
Wow. Yeah, crazy. Definitely a unique career there, Coach. And I think sometimes we've recorded this show, the Coach O Show, here on off days. And if you're watching us, I'm going off days because that's right. That's the off day, is finger quotes around off days for the coaching staff. I mean, you guys kind of are grinding for 7 months here. It's an everyday job.
Yeah, no, it is. There's really, and I think in 20 years of doing this as a player coach, 20 plus years, I've had 0, and that's not an over-exaggeration, 0 sick days.
Yeah, wow.
Been in the office every single day for 20 years. So it's a unique profession. And you know that. That's a fun thing for, like, unless you're just, actually, I don't know, Luke, you could maybe have a story about this. I'm sure there's times you had the flu or a sore throat you couldn't swallow or whatever the case may be. You still come to work. Now, you may go to the therapy room and lay on the table and look like death warmed over, but they may just let you have a nap there. Very few times do they say, go home unless you're contagious. Yeah. So I just think that's an interesting fact that, like, there's no sick days. Like, you're coaching through sickness, you're playing through sickness, and that's just the way it is. So, yeah, the fun fact there, 0 sick days in 20 plus years.
Wow, that is a good one. But David Bucko, our producer for this, he may name the episode 0 sick days. Well, so you'll look for that on your podcast. Okay, well, what a good talk here, Coach. Very excited for this weekend. We'll get a read-in for our sponsors here at Turkstra Lumber, of course. The Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is presented by Turkstra Lumber. Check out the project coaches at Turkstra Lumber. They can help with every part of your home reno, from designing a deck to ordering a new front door. Learn more at TurkstraLumber.com. Coach, you guys are off to Toronto. Very excited for next week's Coach O Show as we break down what might be a very important and fun game of this season. So good luck.
All right, thanks, Luke.
Another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is in the books. Let us know your thoughts. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Coach O and Luke are back next week to discuss the latest from the locker room. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.